a series of threats coming from Iran and some statements from the EU. The UK, France, and Germany, they're all under extreme pressure to save the nuclear deal. And one of the biggest hurdles in their way are so-called secondary sanctions, the penalties that the U.S. is putting on certain companies doing business with Tehran. In a letter now made public, ministers from those three countries are asking the U.S. to leave them out of it. They write, as you see right there on your screen, as allies, we expect the U.S. will refrain from taking action to harm Europe's security interests and expect that secondary sanctions will not be enforced on EU entities and individuals, and thus respect our political decision. Jonathan, this looks like a clear aim from these countries. They want the U.S. to let them continue negotiating, but it's not going to be an easy road ahead.
Well, that's it. Secondary sanctions, they said, could prevent the European Union from continuing meaningful sanctions relief to Iran. But of course, that's the entire point of what Donald Trump's doing under the encouragement of Benjamin Netanyahu. So it seems very unlikely that he's going to grant them that exemption. And that seems to be something that Netanyahu hinted at yesterday in Paris in no uncertain terms. Whether or not he said the same thing today to Theresa May and Boris Johnson, we just don't know. But in their public statements, they did discuss their differing views on Iran. And Theresa May echoed the words of that letter, saying that as long as Iran keeps to its side of the deal, Britain will do the same. The letter said the same for those European states, and therein maybe lies the clue. Perhaps they're all waiting for some proof that Iran will break the deal first, and then all bets are off.
Well, let's bring into this discussion now our economy correspondent, Westropp-Evans. Prime Minister Netanyahu basically saying now it's economic reality that's going to set in, that's going to determine the fate of the Iran nuclear deal. Let's fill us in a little bit on what's happening in the economic sphere.
And look, Caleb, there might be some truth to what Netanyahu's saying about this economic reality, because companies in Europe have already begun unilaterally pulling themselves out of Iran and these Iranian deals. So we've got notable companies such as the PSA Group, the creators of Peugeot and Citroën cars, suspending all joint ventures in Iran. You've got German manufacturer Siemens, with the CEO saying that he will cease all further business in Iran, and French energy company Total stopping the massive $2 billion project to develop the South Pars gas field. I mean, all these projects in and of themselves are showing that the uncertainty is really rattling businesses that had planned to build on this JCPOA foundation, the Iran Nuclear Deal Foundation, to set up businesses there, but in this fledgling state are not willing to go ahead with the uncertainty that's swirling in the air.
And as you've told us, Asher, throughout how all of this has unfolded since President Trump withdrew from the nuclear deal, it might actually be the companies, the European companies, holding the cards in a way more than the leaders in terms of where this all goes.
Absolutely right. I mean, the fact of the matter is the U.S. market is so much larger than the Iranian market that it just doesn't make sense for these multinational firms that do business across the globe to side with their business ventures and business interests in Iran. I mean, the EU will try. They've attempted their blocking statutes that they're trying to put in force to prevent companies from working with U.S. sanctions, but it's probably not going to be enough in reality, because at the end of the day, these companies are going to want to continue to do business with the great consumer that is America, with the great market that is America, and if they risk losing that access, they're not going to choose Iran over America in the long run.
Already some sort of unconfirmed rumblings that the U.S. is not going to give in to that request.